Thanks very much, Sean and Chris. I have a question from Councillor Bamford.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Batiste. A couple of questions. First of all, what do you understand by tertiary watershed? It's not an expression I've often heard. Tertiary watershed.
They're in the kind of 3 rivers removed from the main.
Okay.
Say the Matagami would be the main watershed. So
okay.
So if there's a secondary feed into it, then the third feed into the. That's
so
what I
like
understand.
the third or the second tributary from the main river.
It could
be second or third.
Second or third.
Yes.
For this one, it's a second.
Okay. So a couple of other questions that follow from that. Does that give you, let's say we didn't have power dams on Sandy Falls. Would that, under the current circumstance, would that have given you a right to negotiate with the developers of that? Because anything along the, my understanding, anything along the Matagami River then would be considered part of your tertiary watershed.
Well, it would be, but for this policy and for the Matagami, it could. I think it might even be specifically named in the policy, but I'm not a policy expert on it.
Okay.
You'd have to. You're probably better off to get the MNR in here to answer those questions. But the policy itself talks about greenfield sites, which are new sites, not redevelopments.
Right.
So it would be a new site on the Matagami. Now, if there are, I don't know if there are. I'm not aware of any sites along the Matagami that would be worth redeveloping. If there are, or they may be protected areas. Protected areas.
Yellow Falls was one that we were addressing.
Yes, we were going to, and that's not a new site. That came out before this policy. The Yellow Falls power site.
Okay.
It came out
20 years ago.
Yeah. So it wasn't part of this.
What in ballpark approximate figures? What kind of revenue would the First Nations group, I guess it's Matagami and Matachewan, would you be expecting?
It depends on a few things, and it obviously increases as the debt is retired on the assets. So I mean, but if when we finalize the power purchases agreement, which is a 20-year agreement, and then moving forward, if we get the ownership that we feel that we could get, could be between $5 and $8 million per year.
Okay. Not speaking for anyone else, but just for myself, when I heard of the presentation, I heard from the group that was resisting any development at High Falls, I think the concern, and certainly my concern, was that we've developed most of the, as you were saying, developed most of the waterfalls in this area, and this is the one remaining, certainly within the city of Timmins and close to.
Actually, excuse, I just wanted to revise my last. That was between 5 and 8 year. But I'm thinking of the projections that I've seen.
Okay,
it's over a 5-year period, so that would be more like a couple million a year. I apologize.
Okay,
between $1 and $2 million.
Current, like if
once the asset, once the debt is retired and we move into ownership and into an ownership.
Oh, when you have full ownership.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
The concern that I'll speak for myself only, and I'm sure you're aware of what the concern is, but just from the balance, the other side of it, the coin, is that some of us see that this is one of the last remaining natural, environmental waterfalls situations remaining, and we've developed all the others. We've literally destroyed the others. I guess they're not in their natural existence. And this is certainly $2 million is $2 million, but in terms of water plants, hydro plants, this is a small development, and some of us were thinking that maybe for future generations this is something we could keep in its natural state. And so I'm sure you've heard that argument, but I just wanted to mention that in case. And I think that's all I have, Your Worship. I was concerned about, if I could just follow up on the tertiary watershed. So prior to this policy that was generated by the provincial government, the First Nations in this area did not feel they had a right, so to speak, to the waterfall?
No, that's not correct. First
No?
Nations have always felt that they've had the right.
Okay.
It's just that we were being bound by policy, and until until or unless we decided to take, which we were close to doing, and we do have the research, the legal research done on it, but about water, title to waterbeds in the province, within Treaty 9, but with this policy, that kind of held us in abeyance on following through on that court case. But no, we've always thought we had the right, but obviously, as I said, policy and the courts have said up to this point differently. So
Were the First Nations involved in developing this policy?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you agree with the policy the way it
No,
stands?
it's not strong enough. The policy should say that we have the first right of refusal and the ability to develop any site that we see fit, and it does say that north of Highway 11, but south of Highway 11 it doesn't. So it's, for us, it's not strong enough. We should be developing this site without developers, but because of the way the policy is worded, we can't do that. But north of Highway 11 they can. So that's, I don't agree with it. in
Okay,
that
Councillor
sense.
Bamford. Councillor